Hello everyone, welcome to the What If Anime YouTube channel. Today, we're diving into an exciting new story that will take your imagination to the next level. Let's get started. This is the second part of the story, which is, what if Naruto decided to teach himself and mastered Fuinjutsu quickly? Start the fanfic. Part 2. Becoming a seal master is supposed to take years. Each level takes much longer than the last. But since that day there was always at least a few dozen clones practicing Fuinjutsu even while the original Naruto was sleeping. But the day before the sealing, Naruto had just managed to finish level 8. He learned how to place and remove slave seals, but the sections that mentioned Fuinjutsu were very insistent on the fact that it was very different and very difficult, though the copy of the caged bird seal that Hinata managed to bring him was very helpful on learning how to remove it. Hinata on the other hand began to learn a new fighting style. She knew the gentle fist was never going to work for her, so she started learning the Sukin. And because she and Naruto shared a water affinity, they trained in the style together. On the floor Naruto smiled, "You always beat me when we only use the Sukin." Hinata pushed her index fingers together. This style is more natural for me. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. "I know. The next step is combining it with the Jukin. Why are you even learning this style? You're already really skilled in the Raken." Getting up, Naruto flashed a confident grin, "To confuse my enemies. I eventually want to learn more styles, so imagine this. You're fighting a bunch of my clones but none of them use the same style. First you fight one using the Sukin, the next one uses the Raken, then the last one uses the Jukin. It would always keep you guessing." Hinata thinks about it then smiles back. "That would be hard to fight." Rematch. Of course, both of them got into the Sukin opening stance and charged. Meeting in the middle, Naruto attempted to punch but Hinata bent backwards out of the way. Changing to a cartwheel, she flipped backwards trying to kick Naruto in the chin, but Naruto was able to dodge sidewards and make another charge. This time Hinata crouched under the punch and palmed Naruto in the stomach. Coughing up some spit, Naruto rolled backwards. Hinata charged Naruto, who was still on the ground, but as soon as she got close he used his crouching position to sweep her legs. Flying over him, she was able to convert her rough landing into a smooth roll, but quickly dodged left as Naruto rushed in with a flying kick. But just as Naruto passed by, she pushed him, setting him off balance. Unable to land correctly, he used his arms to reorient his landing, but it was still rough. He was able to stand up just before she strikes, so he used her momentum by grabbing her arm and tossing her over his shoulder. But reflexively she held onto him, so when she hit the ground he fell over too. Though Hinata was laying on the floor normally, Naruto was laying over her, hand pinning her arm while she was holding onto his other. As they looked each other in the eye, sweat giving their faces a sheen, their tired breath, blushes that were incomparable, and their mouths 2 inches apart, and all Hinata could think was, "Kiss him, kiss him, kiss him." After a second Naruto quickly jumped off. "I am so sorry. I just reacted an, what is happening to me? No, it's fine. It was spar." Though she smiled at Naruto, she was disappointed in herself. They both took a moment to calm down when Naruto spoke up. "The sealing is tonight, right?" Hinata saddened. "Yes, when I get back to the compound the seal will be applied." Naruto rubbed her shoulder. "Hey, the next night I get to take it off. You'll still have to wear the bandages over your forehead, but at least there won't be any seal." Hinata took a deep breath. "Thank you. You've helped me so much, even when you don't have to." Naruto smiled. "I care for you. You are precious to me, and there is nothing I wouldn't do for you." Naruto pulls her off the ground and continues, "Now let's get you home. I have a seal to remove tomorrow." Hinata smiled back with a blush. "Why yeah. And I get to live with you." That night, Naruto bustled around the house organizing everything. They had already bought and arranged the new furniture and moved most of her clothes and items into dressers in the bedroom. In the dining room everything was moved to the sides to make space for the sealing circle directly in the middle. When Naruto returned from training tomorrow he had a job to do and he had to complete it. When he finally laid down on the bunk bed they had bought, he began to focus on his plan. He understood that the kill switch on the seal was dangerous. He knew she was fine if he left the section that destroyed her eyes upon death, but it was the slave seal that scared him. It was so close to the kill switch that if he was even a little off it could hurt her. And above all, that was one thing he really did not want to do. Next morning, when Naruto arrived at the training ground, Hinata was already there, but with a major change. Her forehead was now covered with not only a set of bandages, but also her Hitai. Walking up to her, he asked, "Let me see the seal before Shino arrives." Removing the bandages, Hinata responds, "Why, you'll still be able to remove it." Inspecting the seal, Naruto confidently confirms, "Of course. Because it's so fresh, the links to your brain and eyes are still developing, making it much easier to remove. You can wrap it back up now." As they waited for the rest of the team to arrive, they finalized all the little details about the sealing process and the living arrangements. But after about 20 minutes, everyone else arrived. "Good morning. Today is adjustment day. Remove your seals. But, it's been a month, so I want you to do 10 laps around the forest and 100 push-ups and sit-ups. It should be challenging due to the increase, but not too much because of the seal release. Now go." After 3 shouts of "Kai," 3 dust clouds formed as the genin attempted to adjust to their new speed via trial and error. Kurenai watched on, proud of the improvement of her genin, as they completed all 10 of their laps in under an hour. And as tired as they seemed, they started their push-ups directly after their laps. I guess training with a stamina monster encourages growth in stamina. For the first time, the genin were able to complete all their physical exercises in under 2 hours. As they were all laying on the grass panting, they heard clapping off to the side. "Well done, genin. Take a break and rest up before you start chakra control." After 15 minutes, the genin began their 1 hour of chakra control. Naruto and Hinata remained seated, trying to balance as many kunai as they could along their arms, Naruto having 3 and Hinata having 5. The Chino walked to the river to practice water walking. After an hour, Kurenai produced 2 clones and called out, "Time for individual lessons, please follow one of me." With Shino. When Kurenai and Shino separated enough from the group, asked, "Shino, give me your best Goten, Doryuheiki. Earth style, earth wall." Going through the hand signs, Shino monotonously shouted, "Doten, Doryuheiki." And after palming the ground with both hands, a 10 by 10 foot curved wall shot up from the ground. It was roughly 6 inches thick. Smiling, Kurenai walked 20 feet away from the wall and said, "Now, let's test it." She quickly threw 10 shuriken and kunai, and they lodged hilt deep into the wall, but they did not penetrate fully through. Next, Kurenai went through hand signs of her own, Kaden, Hosenka. Fire style, Phoenix Flame. Each of the small fireballs that hit the walls only left a scorch mark but no damage, making Kurenai very proud. "Well done, Shino, your jutsu was impeccable." "Thank you, sensei. Which jutsu will I learn next?" Kurenai throws him a scroll, this one. Doden, Shinju Zanchu, D-rank earth style, double suicide decapitation. Seals, monkey snake tiger ram. Description: user travels under the ground, then the user then pulls the target under the ground up to their neck, leaving the target vulnerable to attacks and torture. With Hinata, for the past 2 weeks I have watched you learn an entirely new fighting style, and honestly you are doing better with the Sukin in the past 2 weeks than the entire time you've known the Jukin. So now we are moving on from taijutsu to ninjutsu. Hinata gave a confused look. "I'm going to be learning jutsu. Hyuga aren't allowed to learn jutsu." Kurenai smirked. "You are learning a new style. I know about your living arrangement, and we both know that you're not the average Hyuga. So why don't we continue this change with learning jutsu?" Hinata thought it over for a second, smiled and nodded, "Okay. Great, try this one first," Kurenai instructed, tossing a scroll over. Sweden no jutsu, C-rank water style, water bullet. Seals, tiger ox tiger ram. Description: user channels chakra to their stomach, then spits out a bullet of water. The more chakra is used, the stronger the bullets are and the more there are. Closing it up, Hinata smiled. "I'll do my best." With Naruto. As promised, if you can show me that you can control your jutsu, I will teach you another. Naruto smirks, goes through the hand signs, then shouts, "Raiden, right Tenahira." Lightning begins to pulsate in the palms of his hands as Naruto runs towards the nearest tree and slaps it. The area of the tree around his hand darkens slowly, and when Naruto removes his hand, there were dark scorch marks where the lightning used to be. Clapping, Kurenai congratulates, "Well done. Now I assume you would like to learn a water jutsu next." "Definitely." Digging through her bag, she found a scroll and tossed it to him. Good, because I found this jutsu and thought you might like it. Rolling it open it reads, Sweden, Sushoha, A-rank water style, water colliding wave. Seals, horse dog bird tiger boar ox rat. Description, user creates or controls a vortex of water that, using hand gestures, can be manipulated in any way. The water can even be evaporated by the user. The water can also be used for any additional water jutsu. Naruto asked excitedly, an A-rank jutsu. Kurenai smiled back, created by our very own Nadaime Hokage, the jutsu is very adaptable. You could use it as defense, offense, or even support for your lightning jutsu. Though the more water you use the more chakra you need, though I don't think it will be a problem for you. But to accurately control the water, you need good chakra control. So it's a nice balance between power and control. Naruto grinned, I'll get this down, no problem. Teammate finally finished their missions for the day though the genin only though they were chores. But for the first time Hinata walked home together with Naruto. Though she still had 3 days to move out of her compound, Naruto's clones helped her finish moving the day before. When they entered the apartment Naruto directed her to the dining room as he retrieved his advanced sealing equipment from the bedroom. Sitting off to the side Hinata watched as on a paper that Naruto set down, he drew a large, intricate seal circle. Finishing the seal Naruto gave her directions, please remove your head covers then lay down in the center of the circle. Hinata calmly follows his commands and Naruto sits beside her. To finish the seal I'm going to draw directly onto your forehead so please do not move. Okay. The last thing Hinata saw before she closed her eyes was Naruto taking out his brush, dipping it in his chakra ink and beginning to draw. In total darkness she felt the cold ink the brush left behind and the soothing pressure of the brush moving along her skin. As time melded together she was unaware of how long Naruto was working but she began to fall asleep after the hard work of a long day. But when she finally woke up she was staring up at the bottom of another bed. Slowly getting out of the bed she looked out into a dark room but off to the side she saw a clock reading 5 a.m. Channeling chakra into her eyes she whispers, Byakugan. Looking around she saw Naruto asleep in the bed above hers and finally she remembered exactly where she was. I moved yesterday, to live with Naruto. Hinata's blush was almost making the room glow. Deactivating her eyes Hinata quietly walked into the bathroom, flicked on the light and looked into the mirror. A smile slowly spread on her face as no longer was the green curse seal that burdened her clan but a new blue seal that only served the purpose of protecting her eyes. Turning off the light she walked into the dining room and prepared some tea. Besides practice began in a few hours and she already got 12 hours of sleep. At around 6 a.m. she heard movement in the bedroom so she walked over and saw Naruto getting ready so she called out, Good morning. Naruto smiled, Good morning. Did you have a nice rest? The best sleep of my life, thank you so much. Quote, Naruto scratched the back of his head and beamed. The sealing went perfectly, though it was difficult the seal was still making its connection to your brain so it was easier to remove. 1 month later, Naruto and Hinata were on their way home from their mission just happily discussing their training that day because Kurenai had finally let them train in their affinity. They happened to be passing by a cafe when they heard a familiar shout, A rank. Already, looking to the source of the shout, they saw Ino and Sakura talking with each other. Curious they hanged and took a seat near them to listen into their conversation. You have an A-ranked mission in your record. Sakura smirked, yup. It started as AC rank protecting this old drunk bridge builder Tazuna, but on our way to Wave Country we ran into some Chunin Nuke Nin. No way, really? Yeah, Kakashi played dead but Sasuke-kun was able to defeat them both. Of course he did. Sasuke is so strong. Ino squealed. Naruto and Hinata rolled their eyes to this but continued listening. Then we found out that the old man was being targeted by this rich guy Gato so we continued the mission. But like an hour away from the man's house we ran into an A-rank Nuke Nin Momochi Zabuza. Kakashi-sensei got trapped by Zabuza so Sasuke-kun made a plan to free him. Sasuke-kun is so smart. Right. Anyway, after Kakashi-sensei was free he was about to defeat Zabuza but this fake hunter nin pretended to kill Zabuza. He got away with it because we didn't know at the time. But when we got to Tazuna's house Kakashi-sensei said that he was alive. So we trained for a whole week. At the end of the week we were going to the bridge but Zabuza was attacking so Kakashi fought Zabuza and Sasuke-kun fought the fake hunter nin. But of course that day dog boy overslept, so he was late to the fight. Ino rolled her eyes. What a lazy idiot. I know, but after that the hunterman faked killed Sasuke-kun and Kiba because he was too strong. But it let Sasuke-kun unlock his Sharingan. Ino had stars in his eyes. Sasuke-kun must be even stronger now. He is. But as the hunter Nin was about to kill Tazuna, Kakashi was about to kill Zabuza, so he took the hit instead. Zabuza was about to keep fighting, but then Gato came with some mercenaries to betray Zabuza, so Zabuza worked with Kakashi to kill all the mercenaries and Gato. Now that bridge is named after Team 7. Sakura puffed out her chest in pride. Ino pouted, I want a bridge named after me. Letting the two girls continue their conversation, Naruto whispers to Hinata, I want a bridge named after me too, and if Team 7 can go on an A-rank mission, then we can go on AC rank 1. Hinata nods, I agree, now let's get out of here. Paying the bill, they both left the cafe. Next morning, the three genin were doing their laps around the forest. However, when they got out of Kurenai's view, Naruto slowed down and matched Shino's pace. Hey Shino, do you want to do AC rank mission? Shino nodded, yes, I would like to move on from the chores that we receive as a mission. Well, me and Hinata heard that Team 7 went on an A-rank mission, so I'm thinking that today when we go to the mission desk we will use that information to get AC rank. Shino tilted his head, please explain the A-rank mission. It was AC rank mission gone wrong, but they still have an A rank on their record. I think your plan for AC rank is good. I will cooperate. Naruto smiled, great, I'm gonna speed up now. Naruto sped up to return to his previous speed. That afternoon, when Team 8 entered the mission room, Hiruzen smiled. Good afternoon Team 8, we have some D-rank missions for you, which one will you take? Kurenai was about to speak up when Naruto quickly jumped in, none. We will be taking AC rank. You've only been genin for 2 months. You are not ready for AC rank. Haruka scolded, what about Team 7? If they can handle an A-rank mission, then we can definitely handle AC rank. Kurenai turned to her Hokage, A rank. Hiruzen squinted in suspicion, how did you hear about that? Hinata answered this time, we heard Haruno Sakura be bragging about it yesterday. Hiruzen turned to Shino, what do you think? We are ready. Kurenai. Kurani shrugged, if Team 7 can complete an A-rank mission, then mine can definitely complete AC rank 1. Hiruzen relented, okay. Haruka give them AC rank. Haruka sighed and searched the C rank pile until he found a suitable mission. Handing it to Kurenai, she rolls it open and reads, though her face was slightly concerned, one of these. Already. Oh okay team, prepare for AC rank mission that will last up to 2 weeks. The mission should only last up to a week, but better safe than sorry. I will tell you the mission tomorrow. We meet at the main gates tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Dismissed. Next morning, standing at attention in front of the main gates, Kurenai shouts to her genin, tell me what you have packed for the mission. Hinata steps forward and begins to list, 40 kunai and shuriken, 1 medkit, 15 sets of clothes, 15 ration bars, chakra pills, and food pills, and a tent. Good, but where are you keeping all this? Hinata opens her bag and reveals lots of sealing scrolls. Naruto made me some scrolls to seal things away. Okay, Naruto, what about you? Naruto pulls a large scroll of his back and unravels it, revealing a pie chart split into 8 even pieces, 50 kunai and shuriken, 2 spools of conductive ninja wire, 15 sets of clothes, 1 medkit, my combat sealing supplies, 20 self-made exploding and smoke tags, 20 ration bars, chakra pills, and food pills, and a tent. Well done, maybe next time you can make one for all of us. Your last Shino. 40 kunai and shuriken, 1 medkit, 15 sets of clothes, 10 ration bars, chakra pills, and food pills, and a tent. Kurenai nodded and smiled, well done you 3, you have prepared well. Now let's go. Tonight when we rest I will explain the mission. For the next 10 hours Team 8 ran on paths, and through forest, chatting calmly and only stopping for lunch. But as the sun set, Kurenai called out to her genin, the sun is setting, so we'll set up camp here. I'll quickly go hunt for some food. Hinata gather firewood. Naruto and Shino set up the tents. After about 20 minutes everyone was sitting around the campfire, roasting some fish. Kurenai broke the silence, I will now describe the mission. We have been heading to a town, and we should arrive tomorrow around noon. The town's lord's daughter has been kidnapped by a local bandit camp. Our mission is to find the camp, recover the girl, and dispose of the bandits. Dispose? Shino questioned. Kurenai sighed. Kill. We are killing the bandits. A dreadful silence washed over the camp as the genin slowly processed what they were going to have to do. Hinata looked at Kurenai. But that's murder. It is what we were hired to do. But we'll deal with that when we have to. We will sleep in 3-hour shifts. I'll take the first one, Naruto you take the next, followed by Hinata, and finally Shino. We still have a journey in the morning. Though each genin was able to sleep when they needed to, during their shifts they were wide awake dreading the moment when they would have to take someone else's life. When Team 8 finally arrived in the town they were easily welcomed. The people were excited to see Ninja from Konoha, but passing by townspeople the team walked straight to the Lord's house. When they walked out to the large house they knocked on the gate. A servant opened the door and bowed to the ninja. Welcome, Lord Fukawa has been expecting you. I will guide you to his office. Walking through the garden they eventually came upon a room. The servant knocked on the door. The Konoha shinobi are here. They heard a shout, let them in. The servant opened the door to the side and the 4 shinobi walked in, the genin following behind Kurenai. Behind a desk was Lord Fukawa. He was a middle-aged man with dark blue hair and brown eyes, wearing a green kimono. Thank you so much for your assistance. We are here to help. Tell us what you know. Kurenai responded. Of course. Around 3 nights ago my daughter was kidnapped from the mansion in the middle of the night. I had heard a scream come from her room, so I went to see what was wrong, but when I opened the door there was a man in all black. He quickly dashed out the window but he was holding a sack that had my daughter inside. What does your daughter look like? Kurenai asked. Lord Fukawa handed a picture frame from his desk over to Kurenai. She's only 8 years old. Her name is Katsuko. The girl in the picture had a large smile, light blue hair, and hazel eyes. Have you moved anything in her room? No. I thought that if I left it as it was, it might make it easier for you to find her. It will. Can you take us to her room? Follow me. Standing up he quickly guided the shinobi through the building into her room, sliding the door open. Inside the room everything looked clean except for the bed which was a mess and the window, which was busted open. Looking around, Kurenai asked, okay team found anything? Shino pointed out the window. There are some tracks outside the window. Most likely left behind by the kidnapper. Hinata with her Byakugan activated comments, and there is nothing in this room that gives any clues. Kurenai nods. Okay, let's follow those tracks. Kurenai turns to Lord Fukawa. Where will we be staying? The Silver Swan. It's our most luxurious hotel. They know you are coming. Okay team, let's go. We'll follow the tracks in a single file. Hinata, I want you to scan the area every 5 minutes for 1 minute and report to me any changes. For the next 2 hours Team 8 followed the footprints left behind by the kidnapper. Every 15 to 20 minutes there was a random change in direction, most likely to throw off any pursuers, but every time Hinata was able to detect the change in direction. They were ready to return to the town when they heard a conversation off in the distance. Quickly and quietly the 4 shinobi spied on 3 men, seemingly bandits because of the swords on their hips, drinking sake. Hey, did you hear? Yuto pulled it off. Pulled what off? One responds. The third interrupts. Yuto actually managed to kidnap that little girl. The Lord's daughter. Yeah, the boss is gonna send a ransom, and Yuto's gonna get a big cut. No way. Maybe we should kidnap someone. Get some money too. We could buy more sake. Letting the conversation go on, Kurenai signs to her genin. We are going to capture them for interrogation. She receives 3 signals back. Got it. Naruto, use right Tenehiro on the one in front of you. Don't kill him. Got it. Naruto nodded. Shino, take out another by draining just enough of their chakra. Understood. Shino shifted his glasses. Hinata, take out the last with a Juken strike. Okay. Hinata gave a thumbs up. I will use a genjutsu to stun them. Go. Kurenai made a few hand signs. Now. All 3 genin jumped out of their hiding spots, quickly knocking all 3 men unconscious. Kurenai clapped. Well done genin. Naruto, apply a paralysis seal. Hinata, what does their chakra system look like? As Naruto places the seal on the 3 men, Hinata says, locked and not developed. Kurenai smiled. Good. Then genjutsu will be perfect as an interrogation method. You guys can stay here until they wake up, but when they do I need you to walk away. The three genin just converse lightly, talking about their hobbies and new abilities. After about 30 minutes the three men begin to wake up, so Kurenai directs them away. The genin were just out of earshot, so they weren't able to see or hear what Kurenai was doing. But after about 20 minutes Kurenai called them back. Kurenai was standing facing her genin with a dark look, but behind her were the three men, lined up kneeling with their heads down. "Did you get the information?" Shino asked. "I did. Then why's such a dark look?" Hinata was getting nervous. Kurenai stepped to the side. "Each of you will kill one of these men. Not with a jutsu, but with a kunai or your bare hands." "What?" Naruto shouts. "Part of the mission is to destroy the bandit camp, and that includes killing the bandits. I can't have you flinching in the middle of a fight, so I need to get you through your first kill trauma now." BBBU, but Hinata could only stutter. Kurenai shakes her head, but nothing. This needs to happen. The earlier the better. While the other two were frozen in shock, Shino silently and slowly grabbed a kunai from his pouch, walked over to the man on the left and plunged it into his carotid, blood flowing down Shino's arm. Shino left the kunai in the man's neck and returned to his position as the man dropped to the ground lifeless. Shino still kept his stoic look, but it was obvious that he was bothered by the way he stared at his bloodied hands, and how his bugs were strangely quieter than normal. Naruto was next to snap out of his shock. Following Shino's example, he silently walked over to the man in the middle, grabbed his head, and swiftly snapped the man's neck. Quietly Naruto walked over to Shino and hugged him, completely disregarding blood stains as Shino hugs him back. Letting go, Naruto just watched Hinata. Hinata slowly trudges up to the final man and looks down. But for a few minutes Hinata couldn't even move. "I've accepted my fate, girl. It's time you do too," the man grunts out. Tears slowly form in the corners of her eyes as she activates her Byakugan. And the tears begin to fall as she strikes his chakra core, killing him instantly. When the man drops to the ground, Hinata follows, turning her into a bawling mess. Naruto quickly runs over to Hinata and hugs her too. She immediately latches onto his shirt and cries into his shirt. Naruto just strokes her hair, laying his head onto hers. Gathering her genin, Kurenai sits in front of them. "I understand the pain of the first kill. It feels like you have done the world's greatest crime. And it feels extremely personal. We murdered them," Hinata wails. Naruto and Shino's gaze drop to the floor at this, but Kurenai quickly jumps in. "No. You did not murder them, you killed them." "What's the difference?" Shino asks. "Murder can only be for personal gain. People murder for money or enjoyment. But killing can be for good. These men were rapists, murderers and thieves. Killing them most likely prevents other people's deaths. Remember that. Now let's go back to town. We have a job to do tomorrow." Quietly Kurenai leads the genin back to the town, leaving behind a clone to hide the bodies. When they arrive at the hotel, when Kurenai walks up to the attendant recognizes them immediately and asks, "How many rooms do you need?" "No charge." Kurenai smiles. "4 single rooms please." Hinata mumbles quietly, "3. "What?" Kurenai asks. Hinata speaks so only Kurenai and Naruto hear. "Only 3. Please don't make Naruto leave me." Kurenai nods. "Okay." Turning back to the attendant, she makes a correction. "Actually, please change it to 2 singles and a double. All close to each other." Right away, the attendant scuffles around looking for the keys they need. Finding 4 keys, she hands them over. "Here you go. All on the 2nd floor. The double is across from the 2 singles." Kurenai takes the keys, thanks the attendant, and hands them over to her genin. When Kurenai entered her room, she put her bag down and flopped onto her bed, staring up at the ceiling. She thought, "I really hoped I handled this well." In his room, Shino silently processed what he had done, but kept remembering his sensei's words. "Me killing that bandit might have prevented other people's deaths." Holding Hinata in his arms, Naruto managed to unlock the door and lock it behind them. Walking over to the bed closest to the door, he managed to take her bag off and remove the scroll from his. Tried to let Hinata down onto the bed, but she clung to him tightly. When he tried to pull away, he heard her murmur, "You're warm, please don't leave me." Naruto smiled softly and tiredly, so he relented and laid next to her in the bed. Pulling the blanket over them, he hugged her close and she snuggled into his chest. The two slept peacefully in each other's arms. Next morning, Kurenai woke up staring at the ceiling. Looking over to the clock, it only said 6:17, so she doubted that any of her genin were awake, especially because she figured that all of them took a while. Walking over to her bag, she pulls out the maps of the bandit camp to begin planning. She would wake up the genin in a few hours. For the first hour, she debated whether or not to rescue the girl first then attack the camp, or to attack the camp first then rescue the girl in the process. Though she finally decided to rescue the girl first, Kurenai ran into another dilemma. How would they rescue the girl? Should the entire team sneak in? But that would make them easier to track. But if the whole team didn't go, who would go? She was still trying to figure it out when she heard a knock on the door. Quietly, she walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Seeing who it was, she unlocked the door to let in Hinata and Naruto. "Good morning, sensei." "Good morning, you two. I thought you would still be asleep." The two blushed and looked away from each other. "No, we slept really well, so we woke up around 7. Kurenai smirks. "Oh." The way Hinata clung to Naruto, they probably slept in the same bed. Seeing the maps behind her, Hinata asks, "What are you doing, Kurenai-sensei?" Getting a little more serious, Kurenai says, "I'm planning for tonight. But I can't find a safe plan. Maybe I can help." "Okay, well, so far my plan is to send in 1 or 2 people to rescue Katsuko, but I don't know who should go among us 4. "Easy, me and Hinata." Hinata looked at Naruto petrified, and Kurenai just raised an eyebrow. "And why is that?" Hinata, "Because she will be able to find the girl the easiest, and me because once we find the girl, I can simultaneously get her out of there and cause a ton of havoc." "Why not give your seals to someone else?" "Why not me and Hinata?" "Because I know the inner intricacies of my seals, and I can make more in seconds. If I just gave you seals, you would have a limited amount. But I also have a plan that requires me to be in the center of the base." "Explain." "The day before we left, you watched me get full control of the Sweden, Sushoha." "Right. I would use the river next to the bandit camp to completely fill up one of my seals. Then once we find and free the girl, presumably in the center in the camp, I would use that water for my Sweden, Sushoha, to cause disarray, and create a wave to deliver the girl straight to the edge of the camp, where I would station some clones to protect her." Kurenai nods along. "Good plan. And when we see the wave, me and Shino would jump into action to kill any bandit we see." "Right, but what about the river? What if they try to escape by swimming across it? I would station a clone there to drown any bandit that tries to cross." "Also by Sweden, Sushoha." "Right." Staring at the map in front of her, Kurenai smiles. "That is a good plan." The two finalized a bunch of little details, but when the clock hit 9, Hinata cut in. "How about we wake up Shino and inform him of our peak plan over breakfast?" Naruto's stomach grumbled loudly. "That sounds great." Naruto scratches his head sheepishly as the two girls try to hold back their giggles. Teammate was huddled together in a circle, going through all their final checks. Waiting until night time, they were going to use the darkness to their advantage. "Clones, moving into position." Naruto responded. "Water seal, prepped. Communication seal, effective." Shino stated. "All right then, this is combat, so everyone removes their restriction seal. We can't be handicapped." After everyone cancels it, Kurenai nods. "Hinata, Naruto, you can go." Naruto quickly applied the invisibility, noise cancelling, and seal counter seals. Over the comms, Naruto asks, "Who can see me?" While Kurenai and Shino responded negatively, Hinata was still able to see him even without the Byakugan. And without the comms, "Who can hear me?" This time only Hinata could hear him. "All right, Hinata, let's go." Though Naruto and Hinata were not visible or audible, they still kept to the shadows to avoid confrontation. Hinata activated her Byakugan and looked around and spotted a hut with a lot of prisoners. Hinata whispered, "I think I found her, follow me." Still silent, they stalked over to the hut, and entered only when someone else opened the door. Inside they had found dozens of women in cages of a range of ages. All of them dressed in rags, a hollow, broken look in their eyes. Hinata became explosively angry and was about to blow their cover when Naruto quickly jumped in. "Hey, don't worry, we'll save them all, but Katsuko is our main focus." Looking through the cages, they found their target, so Naruto quickly applied all 3 seals and unlocked her cage. But Katsuko slightly jumped in surprise at seeing 2 new people. "Who are you two?" she asked, scared. Hinata softly responds, "We are here to save you. Will you trust us?" The girl nods hopefully. Okay. Thank you so much. Silently the two genin exit the tent. Naruto makes a clone that carries the little girl. Naruto takes a deep breath and asks Hinata, "Are you ready?" Taking a deep breath of her own, Hinata responds, "As ready as I'll ever be." Naruto places the seal on the floor below his feet, goes through the hand seals. Just as he finished he stomped on the water seal, activating it and making all the water rush out. Raising his arms he manipulates the water to rise in a pillar all around them. Katsuko and Hinata look up at the thousands of kiloliters of water surrounding them in awe. Reaching over 50 meters in height, all the bandits looked at the water pillar in confusion. Naruto drops his arms pointing them outward and the pillar collapses in on itself and rushes out in all directions. With Kurenai and Shino watching the water fall, Kurenai shouts to Shino, "That's our cue. Kill any bandit you see as efficiently as possible." Shino only nods as they run into battle. With Naruto and Hinata, Naruto left a gap above their heads so that the weight of the water didn't crush them. He also made sure the water did not touch any of the prisoners in the tent behind him. But once the water was low enough, the clone holding Katsuko jumped out and ran towards the group clones made to protect her. When Naruto receives the memories of the clone meeting all the others, he shouts, "I am evaporating the water, get ready to attack." With a snap, all the water instantly evaporated, leaving behind many crushed corpses but a few panting men attempting to regain their breath from being tossed around in the water. Naruto quickly threw kunai straight into the necks of any bandit nearby. With her Byakugan still active, she runs up to every bandit she sees close by, dodges any attack they might throw at her, then gives a quick Juken strike to the chakra core. At long range, Naruto throws kunai into the head, neck, or heart of any bandit he sees. If a bandit happens to get too close to him, he electrocutes them with a right Tenehira. And anytime Hinata begins to get overwhelmed, he carefully throws a kunai with an explosive tag to give her some room quickly. I hope Kurenai and Shino are doing well, because me and Hinata are doing just fine, Naruto thought. They continued like this, ignoring the bodies that began to pile up around them. But as Naruto threw a kunai at another bandit a few meters away, out of the corner of his eye he saw Hinata flinch and slow down. She slowed down just enough for a bandit to get behind her, but just as the man was about to slice her head off, a well-placed shuriken killed him before he hurt her. Running over to her, Naruto asks, "What's wrong?" Hinata stares northwest, "A ninja." Naruto shakes his head, "There shouldn't be any. Only bandits." Well, there is. And he looks angry because he's heading straight for us. Chakra capacity. Low Jonin, about the same Kurenai-sensei. Naruto blanched, ETA. 3 minutes. Naruto immediately called for Kurenai using the seal. "Kurenai-sensei, we need help." "What's wrong?" "Low Jonin level ninja on a warpath straight for us, ETA 3 minutes. I can't get there for at least 5 minutes. Try to hold out for as long as you can." Naruto quickly turns to a scared Hinata. "We are going to have to hold him here for at least 2 minutes. But he's a J Jonin WER. Only G Genin." Naruto gives a confident smile. "Don't worry, we got this. Let's be optimistic, he might just be a Chunin with big reserves. Deactivate your Byakugan for not the next minute, but reactivate them a minute before he arrives." Quickly Naruto makes 2 shadow clones that pick up the old water seal and run off. Where are they G going? "Just to get us some water for our jutsus. Now stand up, we have to show a facade of confidence, maybe he'll underestimate us that way." For a minute they just waited there, preparing themselves for the fight. When Hinata reactivated her Byakugan, she only saw Naruto, the ninja roughly 30 seconds away, and the 2 clones just getting back from their water trip. Everyone else was dead or running towards Kurenai and Shino. Naruto motioned for his clones to hide so that they could surprise the enemy with their Sushoha. "You two caused all this." A voice boomed, "You slaughtered my bandit camp." A hulking man stepped out of the darkness. He was 6'5" with bulging muscles, black hair and black eyes. Across his forehead was a Hittite with the Rock Village insignia with a scratch straight through it. His legs didn't seem to be as developed as his arms, so they hoped that was a weakness they could exploit. But then the man pointed to Naruto. You look like the Kiroi Senko." Yellow flashed. The man seethed. "Are you related to that man?" Naruto calmly responded, "I wouldn't know, I have been an orphan since birth." The man gives a maniacal grin. "Well, I'm gonna have to kill you anyway." Just in case. The man sprints over to them and tries to smash them on the head, but the two genin quickly dodge to the side. However, when his fists hit the ground it makes a crater and leaves cracks in the ground. The two genin have the same thought, we cannot get hit by that. Hinata runs around the man and tries to close some tenketsu in his legs, but the man sweeps his left arm, forcing her to jump back and out of the way. On the other side, Naruto throws a few kunai to keep distance, but the man only uses his other arm, which darkens slightly, to block his face, because when the kunai hit his arm they bounced off the darkened part harmlessly. That won't be enough, boy. Ignoring Hinata, the man charged straight to Naruto, but Naruto quickly made 3 clones. While the first 2 ran to meet the man halfway, they were dispelled by a few punches. But the delay was just enough to allow the third clone to begin his jutsu, Raiden, right Tenahira. Running in, the clone tried to touch, but the man kept dodging for a few seconds until he popped it. Speeding through hand signs, the man shouts, Doden, Doryuden, Earth style. Earth Dragon Bullet. A dragon of earth emerges from the ground, opens its mouth, then shoots bullets of earth. Naruto dodged all the bullets fluidly, but then he looked behind him. The bullets were destroying anything they came in contact with. Naruto became worried. The other women. They're going to die in the crossfire. Hinata charges the man from behind, providing just enough of a distraction to sneakily make a few clones to help the women out of the cages. Signaling to his other clothes, they released the water to manipulate it. Hinata was dodging the Iwanuke Nin's strikes, but unfortunately she was off balance for a split second, giving the man a chance to hit her. But just as he was about to land his strike, a dense stream of water crashed into him, toppling him to the ground and giving Hinata a chance to run away. Grouping back up, Naruto asks, any luck? Hinata shakes her head. No, he's fast, strong, and it seems that Fuinjutsu have little to no effect. Though he seems really easy to set off balance. Note taken, but remember, looks can be deceiving. The man stood up, menacingly, you are going to pay for that, kid. Trying to stall, Naruto asks, if you are going to kill us, can we at least know your name? The man gives a mad grin, Tetsuden Ryuma. Faster than before, the man dashes straight to them. A clone tried using water to slow the man down, but he ran straight through it. But the momentary blindness gave the pair a chance to dodge. Naruto flew through hand seals and shouted, Raiden, right Tenahira. But Ryuma smirks cockily, that won't work if you can't get close. Giving a tired grin of his own, Naruto responds, not if you're drenched. Ha! Naruto places his hands on a stream of water flowing in front of him, letting the electricity flow through the water. Seeing the electrified water move towards him, the Nuke Nin quickly jumped back, but the clone directed the water directly onto the man. Falling to the ground in extreme pain, the man seized from the amount of electricity coursing through him. Watching the man twitch uncontrollably on the ground, Naruto and Hinata thought they had a moment to breathe. He had just received the memories of the clones evacuating all the women, and was calmed by knowing they were safe. Hinata was walking over to Naruto to tell him that Kurenai was almost there when her Byakugan sensed the slightest movement and chakra use from the fried Jonin, then a dark streak heading straight for her. But for Naruto it felt as if it was all in slow motion. He saw the man stand up and take a mad dash for Hinata. I can't let her get hit by that. Reacting solely on instinct, Naruto pumped as much chakra as he could into his legs and ran as fast as he could. With a shadow looming over her, Hinata could only close her eyes in resignation. Naruto watched as the Ryuma's fist got closer and closer, so knowing he couldn't get there fast enough, Naruto kawarimis with her. And a split second later he felt pressure on his stomach, excruciating pain. Then he felt himself flying through the air, crashing through several tents, and then darkness. With Kurenai, she had finished off the last bandit and was rushing to Naruto's last reported location. But just as she arrived, she watched Naruto being flung through buildings. Damn it! The man was about to hit Hinata too, but Kurenai zoomed through hand signs shouting, Megan, Jubaku Satsuki demonic illusion. Tree-binding death. Instantly Ryuma froze, believing that he was bound by a growing tree, giving Shino just enough time to pull Hinata away. But after a second, Ryuma broke through the genjutsu and glared at Kurenai, you're the leader of these brats. I guess I'll have to kill you too. His expression morphed to a lecherous grin, but maybe I'll have some fun with you first. Sprinting to her position, he tries to knock on her unconscious, but his arm passes right through her. Damn it, another genjutsu. Kai. Her image fades away, and when he turns around to find her he receives a foot to the jaw, knocking him to the floor. Damn woman, the man screams. As he stands up he runs through hand signs, Doden, Domu. Earth style, iron skin. His skin visibly darkens, turning a steel, grayish color. Landing on the ground Kurenai shouts, Megan, Jigoku Koka demonic illusion, descending hell. Suddenly Ryuma felt extremely hot. Looking around he spotted a large fireball heading straight for him. Despite his hardened skin he was feeling the heat of the flames, so he tried dispelling the genjutsu, but it didn't work. Panting Kurenai turns to her genin and says, I triple layered the genjutsu, it should take him a while to realize he's not on fire. Shino, put as many bugs as you can without disrupting the genjutsu, then leave. Hinata, go check on Naruto. I can't have you two interfere in the battle. Shino raises his arms, and hundreds of bugs fly out of his sleeves. Carefully those bugs maneuver through the terrain as Ryuma flails, trying to avoid the fire that's only in his head. Attaching themselves to his skin they slowly begin to drain his chakra. Hinata jumps through every Naruto-sized hole that she sees, trying to find where Naruto landed. Finally going through a few buildings she found him unconscious on top of a pile of wood. Carefully she lays him flat on the ground and activates her Byakugan. Checking his organs she is relieved to find his heart pumping, and his lungs breathing, but she is devastated to find all his ribs broken and his liver bleeding. Dropping to her knees, tears formed in her eyes. Dropping to the ground she bawled over his body, closing her eyes she missed his ribs beginning to mend. Naruto's mindscape. Looking around Naruto found himself in a field with a city in the distance. Damn, he punched me into my mindscape, he said unbelievingly. Let's find Kurama. I'm under the tree. Naruto heard a loud growl. Rolling his eyes he asks, can't you call me by my name Kurama? I call you by yours. Walking up to the gigantic tree he sees Kurama sitting in lotus position, meditating. What do you want? I'm trying to heal you up right now. Naruto smiles, thanks. I figure if I'm here I should at least visit. Thanks for the consideration, Kurama grunts. But wouldn't it be better to wake up and help your team? Naruto shakes his head, I can't help them if I'm dead. What's the damage? Broken ribs and a bruised liver. That's bad. How fast do you think you can get me out of here? Few minutes maximum. Naruto smiles, thanks Kurama, when I come back, we can establish that mind link, is my thanks. Real world. As Naruto regained consciousness he could feel pressure on his body. And as he opened his eyes he saw Hinata weeping, why? Why did you save me? I couldn't live if I caused you to die. I love you too much. She whimpered. Naruto moves his arm to pat her head, I could have either. Hinata whipped her head around to see a grinning Naruto. She hugs him tight in relief. Hey, not too tight. My ribs are healing. Hinata let go of embarrassment. Sorry. Standing up he smiles, we're going to have to talk later, but for now, let's go help Kurenai-sensei. Blushing up a storm she could only stutter, wait. However, Naruto couldn't hear her, already having run off into battle. But Hinata remained behind, catching her breath. Ryuma wiped blood from his mouth. You know, I never thought a girl would give me this much trouble. A demonic look formed in his eye. I was going to keep you alive as my personal whore, but now, I'm going to kill you. He made a crazed dash for Kurenai when a blonde and dark blue blur slammed into the side of his head, sending the man crashing through a wall. Flipping off of the man's head, Naruto lands carefully on the ground. Kurenai ran over to her student, Naruto. Are you okay? You should not be here. I saw you get punched through the wall. Naruto smiled. I'm doing just fine, Kurenai-sensei. Now let's take down this bastard. Kurenai shook her head. No, you need to get out of here. This is a fight between Jonin. Not gonna happen. I'm helping you take him down. She was going to continue arguing when she heard a cackle from the side. I thought I turned you to paste. It'll be fun to try again. Doden, Doryuso. Earth style. Earth flow spears. Jumping back away from the incoming spikes Naruto asks, are you going to let me help now? Fine. Quickly Naruto forms a single seal, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. And Kurenai goes through a seal sequence of her own, Kaden, Enden. Fire style, fire bullet. Ryuma is forced to end his jutsu as he dodges right, away from the flame. but quickly shouted out a jutsu when he found himself surrounded by clones, lightning in their palms, Doden, Tajudoryuheiki. Earth style, mass earth walls. Breaking down the walls, the clones find that Ryuma has disappeared, so the clones tread very carefully, but one suddenly sinks to their neck. Looking to the floor, another falls to the ground, then another. Realizing what was going on, Naruto and Kurenai jump off of the ground and onto the roof of a nearby hut. Taking some kunai out of his knee pouch, he begins to wrap them in paper, watching and waiting for his enemy to appear. Jumping out from under the ground, he couldn't see anyone. But on pure instincts he quickly dodged to the left, a kunai zooming over his shoulder. Turning to face the source of the kunai, he was about to charge when he felt a stab to the stomach, heard a hiss, then something exploded right in front of. Naruto watched as his enemy was consumed by an explosion at point-blank range. I thought he would dodge the second one. I hit it with Megan, Kokoni Arazuke, demonic illusion, false surroundings. Naruto prepared more seals as he watched the smoke and dust fade away. And in the center was a panting Ryuma, with gray skin and heavy burns throughout his chest. Not giving the new Kennen any time to rest, Naruto threw a few shuriken to vital spots all over his body. Tiredly, Ryuma dodged all the shuriken, not wanting to test how his burned skin affected his Doden, Domu. However, he was too tired to realize the wires going through the rings of the shuriken, but by the time he did, it was too late and he was wrapped in wire. Naruto sped through hand signs and shouted, "Raiden, right Tenahira." Holding the wire in his hand, the electricity that generated in his palms to course through the wire, but this time with much more voltage. Holding the jutsu for a few seconds, Naruto wanted to make sure that Ryuma was dead. Jumping down from the hut, Kurenai walked over to the nuke nin's body, kneeled, and put her fingers to his neck. Finding no pulse, she took a kunai and cut off his head. "Naruto, may you please make me a storage scroll?" she asked. As Naruto takes out his sealing stuff and quickly draws a seal, Kurenai burns the body, leaving the head behind. "Here you go," Naruto says. Passing the scroll to his teacher, Kurenai takes it, and seals away the head, and stores the scroll in her bag. He might have a bounty. Hearing the battle end, Shino and Hinata come back to the battlefield. Tiredly, Kurenai asks, "Are there any bandits left?" Hinata pales, and no, they are all dead. Kurenai raises an eyebrow, then what's wrong? WWEK killed them all, Hinata stutters. "Oh, how about we return Katsuko to her father, then we can all talk," Kurenai sighs. "Naruto, take us to her." "Sure, but what about the other captives?" "Other captives? Yes. We found her in a cage, but there were dozens of other women too." Kurenai scratches her chin. "I guess we can take them to the town too, see what Lord Fukawa can do for them." Naruto nods and starts walking to an untouched portion of the forest, the rest of the team following behind. Walking up through the trees, they spotted a small clearing where there was a girl sleeping in the arms of a Naruto clone. Quietly they walked up to the clone and Naruto asked, "Where are the other women?" "Deeper into the forest. They barely chose to follow you out of the tent. They have an intense fear of men." Kurenai walked away from the group. "I'll go talk to them." It's almost dawn, so we leave for the town at daybreak. The next morning everyone walked towards the town as a group. Kurenai led all the women, while the genin were responsible for Katsuko, though it was a little difficult because of how tired they were. As the group entered the town they caused a commotion, and when they arrived at the lord's mansion, the butler only allowed Katsuko and the shinobi in. The women were nervous, but Kurenai reassured them that they would be fine. Once again they were guided to the office, but this time when the door slid open, Katsuko shot through the door shouting, "Papa, I missed you." Holding her in a fierce hug, Lord Fukawa responded, "I did too, my baby girl." "Did they hurt you? Or touch you?" The little girl shook her head. "No. After they took me away in the bag, they just left me in the cage. But the food was bad, and the people were scary." The girl looked like she was about to cry, but then she smiled brightly. "But then they saved me, and got to see that boy do cool things with water. We even surfed on a wave. I am so sorry, Katsuko-chan. I should have done better." "It's okay, Papa. I'm okay now. The cool ninja saved me." Putting his daughter down, Lord Fukawa turns to the ninja. "Thank you so much for rescuing my daughter." "But what about the bandit camp?" Kurenai stepped forward, eliminated. "Lord Fukawa, may I make a request?" "Of course. What do you need?" We found many women in the bandit camp alongside your daughter. I humbly request that you accommodate them in your town. They have no place to stay. Lord Fukawa smiles warmly. It would be my pleasure. There is an apartment building that has not been rented out yet. We can accommodate them there. Thank you for your kindness. Now excuse us, but my team needs their rest. Exiting the mansion, Kurenai informed the women of their new residency, then returned to the hotel with her team. The genin were about to enter their rooms when Kurenai called out, "Before you all rest, I would like to talk to all of you." Entering Kurenai's room, they all sat down on chairs, so Kurenai began. Last night's mission went well. I know that there were some complications and a scare, but you all adapted well. Naruto and Hinata, your infiltration of the camp was perfect. You found our target, then swiftly and safely removed her from the battlefield. And Shino, your use of bugs helped me find and kill many bandits, even hidden ones. While her genin showed their own forms of pride and happiness, she could see how disgusted they were in their actions. I thought that I handled your first kill, however I can see in your eye how disgusted you are by your actions. The genin's excitement died down. We slaughtered them, Shino stated. Without difficulties, we ended many people's lives. Kurenai sighed. I understand, but remember what I told you the first time. We killed them not for ourselves, but to prevent another little girl being kidnapped, just like Katsuko. Don't think about the finite amount of lives that we ended, think about the countless amount of girls that we saved from ever being kidnapped by those bandits. Naruto spoke quietly. I know that what we did was for the greater good, but it's still difficult to absorb the fact that I've already killed at least a few dozen people. I get it. It was like this for my first kill too. When we get back to Konoha, what I want you to do is find a hobby. I don't care how weird it is, just find something to distract you from the weight on your shoulders. Naruto, you said you liked playing shogi, right? Yeah. Try talking to Shikamaru. I heard that he also likes shogi. Hinata, you said you like flower pressing. Try gardening the flowers you want to press. Shino, I know how much you love to collect bugs. Dive deeper into it, even try breeding them. Kurenai sees her genin's pensive looks, but she can also see how distraught they still are. I can see that you're still tired. You can go back to your rooms. We leave in the morning. 2 days later. I'm too old for this shit. Your mission too. The Sandame was rubbing his head, hoping to quell his growing headache. What went wrong in your mission? It went like normal. We found our target, rescued her, then continued to eliminate the bandit camp. When eliminate. Hiruzen turned to Uruka. What mission did you give them? Uruka was sweating bullets. It should have been a simple search and rescue mission. To find a lord's daughter, Kuriko or something. Katsuko. Kurenai sighed, and if you read further you would have seen that she was kidnapped and that we were ordered to eliminate the bandits involved. Anyway, after we eliminated all the bandits, Naruto reported an incoming shinobi. Quote, shinobi, at a bandit camp, that's at least a B-ranked mission. Yes, he seemed to be the leader of the bandits. And because we were separated, Naruto and Hinata had to fight him alone for roughly 2 minutes before I was able to arrive. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow. Why were you separated from your genin? It was a battle plan we agreed upon so no bandits could escape. Until the shinobi appeared, the genin were actually doing rather well. So they have their first kill, the Hokage murmured. Did this shinobi have a bounty? Yes, when we got back to the inn I checked the bingo book for Tetsuden Ryuma. He was a B rank Iwa Nin, High Chunin before he turned traitor. He had a total bounty of 750,000 ryo. Here is a scroll with his head. Hiruzen scribbles something on the paper and hands the paper to her. Well done, Kurenai, here is your reward. I didn't give the killing blow, Naruto did. Kurenai said. What? He was helping you fight the Nuke Nin. Uruka was surprised. He gave the killing blow via one of his jutsu. The Hokage sighed. I assume everything will be in the official report. Kurenai nodded. Of course, Hokage-sama. Inform your genin that they will receive a week break. And hand that check to Naruto. Then you are dismissed. Of course. Have a nice day. I haven't been here in a while, Naruto thought as walked through the entrance of the library. But for the first time he was admitted to the ninja section. Excited for all the new books and scrolls available to he walked through every aisle looking for anything of interest. But the closer he got to the end of the genin section the more disappointed he became. His hopes for cool new techniques or awesome training methods slowly faded. Though the Shunshin body flicker looks useful, everything else here won't help me in a fight. This can't be it, Naruto thought. Slightly desperate, Naruto combed through the genin aisles one more time, attempting to find anything, but to his dismay there wasn't a single book or scroll that interested him. There is no way I'm leaving without something cool or useful, Naruto whispered to himself. Naruto walked over to the chunin section to try and find something better, but just as he was about to look through the first aisle he felt a hand gripping his shoulder. Looking up he saw a jonin wearing a bandana with mid-length brown hair and brown eyes, and a senbon sticking out of his mouth. Look kid, I know you're eager to learn some cool new jutsu and stuff, but you gotta learn the basics before you do anything more advanced. That's why anything you were probably looking for is here in the chunin section. You'll get here eventually, the man said. Oh, come on, Naruto pouted, I already know kunai balancing and my chakra affinity. Besides, the best thing I could find in the genin section was the shunshin. The man sucked in a breath. Wow, that's kinda bad. But after mulling it over the man continued, if you know kunai balancing I guess you'll be fine, just don't get in over your head with high-level jutsus. Just start small and build yourself up. Thanks mister, Naruto smiled and walked back into the aisle. It didn't even take a minute before he found something that truly interested him, applications of chakra affinities. Pulling the book off of the shelf he sat on the floor to read a snippet. There are 5 chakra affinities: fire, water, earth, lightning, and wind. To become a jonin, mastery of 2 affinities is required. And while the main purpose to master affinities is to make learning jutsu easier, each affinity has a purpose beyond the accumulation of jutsu. To find these purposes, skip to the page of your affinity. Lightning, page 49. Naruto flips to said page. Lightning chakra, when flowing through one's body, can be used to increase speed, reflexes, and in extreme cases, as seen in the Raikage's Raiden no Yoroi, can be used as strong armor. However, this can be very dangerous because lack of control over the flow of the lightning chakra can lead to electrocution. To avoid this, users should learn chakra flow techniques. Snapping the book shut, Naruto jumps up to find a book on chakra flow. And after reading a snippet of that book too, Naruto begins to look for jutsu, Doden, Doryuso. Not my affinity. Raiden, Rakurai. I'll take it. Sweden, Kurenai-sensei is already teaching me this. Naruto had been searching for 15 minutes looking for jutsu that interested him, though most of the jutsu in the library were fire jutsu. But suddenly Naruto paused. Wait, I should find something for Hinata. Again Naruto searched the shelves looking for something that Hinata might like to learn. It took him a minute, but finally Naruto found it. Something that Hinata would love. 1 hour later. I'm home, Hinata-chan. I was at the library and I found a jutsu that you would love. Really? Hinata asks. Yup. Well, I had to check the chunin section to find it, but here it is. Naruto hands her a scroll. Hinata opens it up. The Shozen Jutsu. Mystical palm technique. Yeah, I know you make those ointments for healing, so I thought you would love to learn some real Iryonin jutsu. Quote, thank you so much Naruto-kun, though I should tell you, Kurenai-sensei stopped by earlier. Oh, what did she need? Well, first was that we have a week break from team missions and training. Great, Naruto smiled, more time to learn the jutsus I found. And second, Hinata continued, was to drop this off. Hinata slid over a slip of paper. What's this? Naruto asked, but then his eyes bulged. Whose is this and why does it have so many zeros? It's yours, Hinata said, because you dealt the killing blow on Ryuma, you get the bounty. Well, with all this money and time on our hands, I think it is the perfect time to talk. Hinata was confused. Talk? About what? Naruto became sheepish. You said you loved me. Hinata blushed a bright red. I did. Did you really mean it, or was it the heat of the moment? Naruto asked hopefully. Hinata looked down as her blush went nuclear. IIRR really L love you. IIH have S since IWW was F5. Naruto widened his eyes in disbelief. Since you were 5. How did I not notice? WW well IH hit it Pete pretty W well. Naruto shook his head. No. Looking back it's very obvious. Hinata somehow blushed brighter in embarrassment, but Naruto still asked, why didn't you tell me? Hinata's blush faded into a reminiscent smile. UW were always as shining, so be brightly. Always as smiling and always trying your be best, ever so confident, no matter what you have face. I didn't think I was worthy enough for you, and when I was sealed eep. Naruto snatched Hinata into a tight hug. What do I keep telling you? You are worthy. I am. Just some orphan. You are the Hyuga clan heir. I'm not good enough for you. But why you? Naruto held her by the shoulders. Look, I'm not the best with love, because I was never really taught what the different types were but a dark red blush forms Naruto's face. I think you are really beautiful and every time I see you, my heart starts going cc crazy Sue. Maybe we can go on a date, or something, so I can figure out what I feel. Hinata was shocked. Really? Naruto tried to give a confident grin. I mean, we skipped some steps. I met your parents, and we already live together, so why not try going on a date? Hinata could only sit there in a stupor, surprised that her crush might actually love her back. However, the silence was slowly chipping away at Naruto's confidence, growing more and more unsure. After a few minutes, Naruto just gave a disappointed smile. I'm sorry, I must have gotten ahead of me's. Realizing Naruto was about to rescind his offer, Hinata shouts, no. Wow, I was really off. Naruto sighed, extremely disappointed. Yes, no, I would love to go on a date with you. Hinata blurted out. She lowered her head and closed her eyes in embarrassment. Really? You mean it? Hinata nodded quickly, yes. Naruto captures her in a hug. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to take you on the best first date ever. Tomorrow? Too early? Naruto asked nervously. The day after tomorrow would be much better. Hinata points out with a blush. Besides, I have to buy something nice to wear. I do too, Naruto concedes. I don't have any nice clothes either. 2 days later, Naruto and Hinata agreed to use seals so they couldn't see each other until the date. He had planned this date out thoroughly, but even still he was extremely nervous. Looking at himself in the mirror, he was a white shirt, an open dark blue jacket paired with gray jeans, and dark blue sneakers. He hoped he looked good, because he never planned his outfit out this much. Watching the clock, he saw he had 2 minutes before he had to meet Hinata outside the door. Making sure everything was ready, he stepped out the door and removed the seal, allowing for the world to see him holding a daisy, Hinata's favorite flower. But when Hinata stepped out the door, it left Naruto speechless. She was wearing a beautiful lavender dress, and beige shoes to match. Blushing, Hinata asks, do I look okay? Naruto smiles warmly, you look amazing. Naruto hands her the flower, this is for you. Hinata takes the flower with a slight blush, thank you. Of course. Naruto scratched the back of his head, now let's go because it's a bit far. Walking through the village, they were happily talking, though Hinata became more and more confused as they walked away from all the buildings and through a wooded path. So after about 20 minutes she asked, Naruto-kun, where are we? Almost there, just through those trees. Holding her hand, Naruto pulls her through the trees. Breaking through the tree line, Hinata gasps at the breathtaking view. From their vantage point they could see all of the village. She saw the bustling market on the left, all the clan compounds and how different. She could even see as far as the main gate at the opposite end of the village. Where are we? Look down. Hinata's eyes widened as she realized she was standing between the giant carved heads of the Sandaime and Yondaime Hokages. Taking out a sealing scroll, Naruto unseals a blanket and a basket. Pinning the blanket to the ground with seals, Naruto pats the ground next to him. Quietly, Hinata sits down as Naruto speaks. I know I could have brought you to a fancy restaurant, but I wanted this date to be special, so I chose to bring you here. What's so special about right here? Hinata asks. Well, the truly special part doesn't happen for about an hour and a half, so I figured we could have a little picnic before I show you. Oh, okay. Opening the basket, Naruto pulls out many different foods and drinks. I know it won't be as high quality as a restaurant, but I tried my best. Unwrapping an onigiri, she took a bite and stars shone in her eyes. What are you talking about? This is delicious. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief as he bit into his own food. Over the next hour, Naruto and Hinata laughed over the funny stories they had, conversed over the interesting things they've seen, and hugged when sometimes the experiences weren't that enjoyable to remember, but in the end they knew more about each other than ever before. Naruto was describing his most recent interaction with Konohamaru when he stopped mid-sentence and smiled. Look, he said, When she turned to look out over the village, she watched as the sunlight slowly faded from the sunset behind them. And the moon slowly rose over the forest horizon. The way the sky turned from its bright blue to a dark orange and finally to a deep dark blue night. She watched in silence as the normal bustling of restless villagers slowly calmed down into a serene night. I wanted to bring you here because I wanted to show you the peacefulness that I want to protect. It's so beautiful, Hinata whispered. Naruto grinned. I know. This is where I come when I just need a break from the people and training and responsibilities, and I just want to watch the sky and think. It was my spot. Hinata was confused. Naruto held Hinata's hand. Yeah, now it's our spot. I love you, Hinata. Naruto looked Hinata straight in the eye, and though her blush was explosive, he pushed further. Please be my girlfriend. With an relieved and excited squeal, Hinata shouted, yes. Naruto brought Hinata into a hug, and when they stared at each other they could only blush and smile. But in the moonlight their mouths got closer and closer together until they kissed. It was chaste, a quick peck on the mouth, but they could tell neither of them were satisfied. Returning for another kiss, this time they stayed holding each other, not caring for the lack of oxygen. They could feel the love, despite the simplicity of the kiss. Finally releasing each other so they didn't suffocate, they laid down on the blanket. Hinata's head on Naruto's chest. Staring up at the sky, Hinata murmurs, that was amazing. Naruto questioned. Perfect. She finishes. Arm in arm, Naruto and Hinata were walking towards a training ground. They had 2 days before team training began, but they were getting restless just waiting. So they decided to get in training on their own. I'm going to work on the Shunshin. What about you? Naruto asks. I will be working on the Shozen. How? There wouldn't be anyone to heal. The scroll you gave me said that I could practice on fish. So that's why we're going to the training ground by the river. Yes. Alright, so spar at 11. See you then. Hinata pecks Naruto on the cheek, then runs to the riverside. With a grin, Naruto shouts, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. With all 100 clones poofing into existence around him. You know the drill, Naruto directed. 10 of you on sealing, 10 on hand seal seeds, 10 on Sukin katas, 20 on combining the Raken and the Sukin, and finally 25 clones each on both lightning and water affinity training. Break. Jumping away in sections, Naruto was left to his own devices. Opening the scroll, he read it through and memorized the seals. Shunshin no Jutsu, D rank. Seals, Torah, description. The user disguises a quick burst of pure speed pushed to the extreme by the flow of chakra through the user's system. Closing the scroll back up, he closed his eyes and thought of the area of the forest he wanted to teleport to. Pumping chakra through his body, he focused on the details of the exact place and the feeling of a quick burst of speed. Running through the hand seals, he shouted, Shunshin. He felt air rushing by him, but then he slammed into a tree. Slowly he peeled off and fell to the ground with a groan. Opening his eyes, he looked around to find that he did in fact Shunshin. At least I moved, but maybe next time I should try without crashing. It'll be much less painful. Getting back up, Naruto thought back to the original spot he first used the Shunshin. Again he thought of the different trees, pumped chakra through his system and shouted, Shunshin. But again he crashed into a tree. Rubbing his head hoping to quell his growing headache, Naruto thought, maybe not so much chakra. I might be overshooting. He waited a minute for the pain to subside before he stood back up, and this time he used much less chakra as he pictured the area he wanted to teleport to. But when again he shouted, Shunshin. This time he didn't move at all. So not enough this time, he thought. He pumped more chakra in his next attempt, but this time when he shouted, Shunshin, he moved, but not as far as he would like. Over and over again he attempted to use the Shunshin without, but every time he adjusted his chakra for a new attempt it never worked out. After 15 minutes of constant trial and error, he flooded his system in chakra in rage and screamed, Shunshin. Instantly he appeared exactly where he wanted, but he retained all of his momentum, and in an instant all the anger vanished and turned into fear. He was about to crash headfirst into a tree faster than he had ever moved before. In an attempt to avoid any amount of head trauma, he used the chakra still flooding his system to Shunshin once again. No shout, no hand seals, just instant movement 10 meters back away from the tree, landing steady on his feet. It took Naruto a minute to calm down from the adrenaline flooding his system, before he realized what he did. I just sunshined without hand seals. Naruto calmed himself, focusing on his singular successful attempt in the place he wanted to Shunshin to. Pumping chakra through his body, he raised a singular hand seal and whispered, "Shunshin." Instantly he was transported to exactly where he wanted to, upright, and only needing to take a few extra steps to regain his balance. Big improvement. Smiling from his success, he tried again. And to his excitement, he did it, getting even better. And in an attempt to replicate his earlier feat, he used twice as much chakra and shouted, "Shunshin." Few hours later, Naruto let out a big sigh. He has to remember to dodge Hinata's strikes because her shutting down his chakra points during the spar made him really sore. But it was nothing that some food didn't fix. They were on their way home from lunch when Hinata asked, "Naruto, can you teach me the shadow clone jutsu?" Thinking it over for a second, Naruto shrugged, "Sure, but I have to ask Kurenai-sensei." "Why?" "Because it requires a ton of chakra. For example, how well can you function with only half your chakra?" I don't know. "Why do you ask?" "Because to make a shadow clone, it splits your chakra evenly between you and your clones. So one clone means you're only left with half your chakra. Is there any way to improve my chakra capacity?" Hinata asks hopefully. Quickly, "No. The best way is to repeatedly do chakra control exercises and it will passively get larger, but maybe I could draw out a seal." Naruto paused and thought. "Naruto." Hinata was concerned when he paused. "Why didn't I think of this earlier?" Naruto turned to his girlfriend. "I have an idea, so when we get home I'm going to be a little busy." Despite the confusion, Hinata continued to converse with Naruto until they opened the door to their apartment, where he sat down next to the table and began to draw a seal while she just watched from the couch. He messed up quite a few times, and every time he did he had to restart. But after 20 minutes of trial and error he was able to complete the first seal, though Naruto dove right into another. This one caused him much more trouble. Every few minutes he threw away the seal paper and restarted. She had fallen asleep when she heard a shout, "Finally, I'm done." Walking up, she saw that the sun was rising. Walking into the kitchen, Hinata asked, "Have you been working all night?" Tiredly, Naruto waved her over and responded, "Yeah, this seal was super complicated, so it required a ton of testing, but I did take a few naps." "What does it do?" Handing her the seal slip, he said, "Don't worry about that yet. Pump chakra into this until you are at exactly half of your total chakra. Though if you're about to pass out you can stop." Despite being confused, she did what Naruto asked. It took her a few minutes, but eventually she finished pumping exactly half of her chakra into the paper. When she handed the paper back to Naruto, she felt drained. "In this state, do you think you could still train or fight?" "No, I'm too tired. That's why I won't teach you the shadow clone." Sticking the paper to Hinata's arm, he activated it and her chakra began to diffuse back into her system. Leaving the second seal on the table, Naruto stood up and yawned. "I would place the second seal now, but I think I should be well rested before drawing something so complex." Letting her boyfriend rest, Hinata started to get ready. She was going to visit her family today. After all, it has been months since she last saw them. Dressed in traditional Hyuga clothes, she closed the door behind her and began the trek to her clan's compound. That evening, Hinata walked through the door and smelled something amazing coming from the kitchen. "Good evening, Naruto-kun. What are you making?" "Hi, Hinata-chan. Just rice and chicken teriyaki. When I woke up I was hungry, and when I saw you weren't here I thought you'd be hungry when you came back, so I began to cook." "I am hungry, so thank you." As Naruto served Hinata her food, he asked, "So where did you go today?" "I went to visit my family." Naruto sat down to eat his food. "How did that go?" "Great. Hanabi-chan was so happy to see me." "That's nice, and your father?" "He was happy to see me too. I even told Tusama about us." Naruto felt a chill go down his spine, but he kept his composure. Naruto gave a nervous smile. "How did he take it?" "Well, though he would like to see you soon." Trying to shift to a new topic, Naruto asked, "Oh, okay. By the way, should I explain to you the seal I want to place?" "Yes, please." "Okay, the seal has two main parts, the cuff and a storage chain. I designed the cuff based on a chakra restriction seal, but reworked it so that it would drain half your chakra. The cuff also contains a regulator so that you can retain half your chakra and for it to increase as your capacity increases as well. This should increase your reserves by tricking your body into believing that it's not producing enough chakra, thus forcing your body to develop larger coils. Slightly nervous Hinata asked, is it safe? Without a doubt, however, the second part, the storage chain goes down your forearm. All the chakra being drained from your system has to go somewhere, so I figured that in a battle situation you should be able to release the seal and regain your full reserves. So the storage chain is to store all the chakra being drained by the cuff so that if in battle you run low on chakra, you may refill your reserves. How fast would this improve my chakra capacity? Scratching his chin, Naruto attempted to do the math. Well, the larger your reserves are, the less effective this seal will be, so your current reserves should be doubled within 2 months give or take, and tripled in 6. Finishing up her food, Hinata asks, when will you place the seal? After dinner if you want. Hinata smiled, the sooner the better. 1 month after Team 8's break from missions, the genin were waiting in training ground 8, confused and worried because for the first time, their sensei was late. Do you think Kurenai sensei is okay? Hinata asked. Oh, she's fine. She probably woke up late or something. Actually, it is more probable that she is being held back by some sort of interaction. Shino pushed up his glasses. Yeah, that might be it too. They continued talking over it until in a swirl of leaves Kurenai appeared. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a meeting and it ran long, she sighed. It's okay, Hinata replied. Actually, the meeting concerned you all. I have nominated you all to participate in the upcoming Chunin exams. Kurenai handed out some papers. Naruto grinned. Awesome. It's the next step to becoming Hokage. It is also a necessary step in becoming a clan head. Shino admits. And I will get to show my clan how strong I am, Hinata says excitedly. Kurenai smiles. Sign these forms by next week. You have to turn them in on exam day. It's next week in the academy, room 301. Slightly concerned Hinata asks, are you sure we are ready? I believe you all have the skills required to become Chunin. And though you may not have the experience, the only way to build that is to actually experience things, so I signed you up. You may not pass or become Chunin, but it will still help you grow. Hinata nodded. Makes sense. Sure, now start training. We're still training all week up until the last day so you can rest and prepare. Hi. Next week, Naruto and Hinata were on their way to the academy, ready for their exams. But on the way they heard a cry for help. But running over they saw 2 girls, one with a fan on her back and the other wearing a catsuit and holding a boy by the collar. Hey girl, put the kid down, Naruto shouted. The girl in the catsuit shouted, I'm not a girl. Taking a closer look, Hinata asks, then why are you wearing makeup? It's not makeup, it's war paint. Sure lady, Naruto dismisses, but I'm pretty sure the 3rd Hokage won't appreciate some Sunanin beating up his grandson. I am a boy, the boy seethed angrily. However, he did put down the boy. You okay, Konohamaru? Naruto asked. The boy gave a nervous smile. Sure boss. I'm just gonna get out of here. The boy sprinted as far as he could. Now do you 3 want to explain why you're here bullying a kid instead of on your way to the Chunin exams? The 2 Sunanin paled. 3. Hinata nodded. There's another of you up in the trees. Jumping down from the tree, a boy with red hair and a gourd on his back faces his teammates. You 2 are an embarrassment. Let's go. The other 2 Sunanin nod and walk behind the boy. Okay Gaara. Following their example, Naruto and Hinata walk away, having to meet up with Shino before they get to the Chunin exams. However, after talking a few steps they hear a shout, you. What's your name? Turning around they see Gaara staring. Uzumaki Naruto. And yours? Sabaku no Gaara. He seethes and clutches his head. During the exams, mother will have your blood. And without another word the 3 Sunanin walk away, the first 2 following after the red-haired boy. Naruto rolls his eyes in slight concern but just turns to Hinata and says, we have to go too or we're going to be late meeting Shino. Right. Walking down the street Naruto heard a voice in his head. I sensed my brother in that boy. Your brother? Naruto asked. Shukaku, the one-tailed tanuki. Kurama responded. His Jinchuriki seemed unstable. They tend to be. You should watch out for him. Thanks Kurama. With only an hour before the test starts the 2 walk a few blocks before they run into Shino. They confirm with each other that they have anything they might need, remove all their restrictive seals, then walk the remaining few blocks to get to the academy. Walking up the stairs they spot a large crowd surrounding 2 larger ninja. However, completely ignoring the complaining genin they sneak past to get to the stairs. They all knew they had only gone up one flight of stairs to the room 301 that everyone else was gathered around had to be fake. However, they did not want to draw the attention of the other genin and give them some help. But as they sneaked past the cluster, Hinata saw someone she recognized, Neji. Turning, Hinata weaved through the crowd towards the person she had saw, another Hyuga. Tapping his shoulder she whispered, "This is not the actual exam room, we are only on the second floor." The boy rolled his eyes and walked out from the crowd. "I know Hinata-san, this is an act so that my team seems weaker than we are." Following their teammate out of the crowd, the girl seemed angry. "What the heck, Neji? You blew our cover." "I apologize, my failure." Cousin decided to intervene. Neji scoffed. Naruto stepped in to defend his girlfriend. "Hey, she's not a failure. And because you're family, maybe you shouldn't call her that." A boy beside them in green spandex shouted, "That was very unithful, Neji-san." Neji rolls his eyes. "She is a Hyuga who is terrible at the Juken. She is so terrible at the Juken they moved her to the branch house." But alas, it was fate. Barely containing his rage, Naruto seethed. "Look, I would love to go into all the reasons why Hinata-chan is amazing and strong and why you are such an ignorant prick with a 10-foot pull up your ass. However, we all have a test to get to." Turning away, he walks away and up the stairs, Shino and Hinata following closely behind. They were walking towards the doors of the exam room, but Naruto turned to his teammates for one last checkup, but he turned to see Hinata sad and slightly disappointed with her conversation with Neji. She had hoped that when she moved to the branch house she would have the opportunity to reconnect with her cousin. Holding Hinata by the shoulders, Naruto says, "You are not a failure, no matter what that prick says. You are so strong, and it may not be in the traditional Hyuga way, but you are still strong. So cheer up, because we are about to destroy those exams. Because me, you, and Shino are the strongest genin here." Hinata gives a light smile. "You are really good at motivational speeches." Naruto gives a light peck on Hinata's forehead. "I try. Now let's get in there and kick some butt." Turning to Shino, they nod to each other and confidently walk through the double doors. Inside they saw over 100 genin from a multitude of different villages, and yet teammate kept their confident looks. However, they still didn't want to gather too much attention, so they walked to the side. They had been waiting for roughly 30 minutes for the test to start when they heard the screech of, "Sasuke-kun, you're here." Looking over, teammates saw Yamanaka Ino and Haruno Sakura doing everything they could to draw the attention of their beloved Uchiha Sasuke. However, they were simultaneously drawing the attention of everyone else in the room. Hinata was about to walk over and say hello when Naruto held her back by the shoulder. She looked at him confused, but he just shook his head and Shino spoke up. "It is beneficial for us to draw the least amount of attention." Understanding her teammate's point, she stood back next to Naruto, just leaning on his shoulder, but, unfortunately for them, Kiba spotted them. He waved and shouted, "Hey Hinata, you're here too." Naruto instantly palmed his face, and while Shino's expression made no major change, he was just as upset. Hinata began to get a little nervous, now that she was the center of attention. "Hello Kiba-san." As teammate walks towards their former classmates, one of them drones, "So all the rookies are here. How troublesome." Again Naruto palms his forehead again and Shino's eyebrows begin to twitch. "You know Shikamaru, for Inara you make some dumb decisions. Maybe this is how I manage to keep putting you in a stalemate when we play shogi." Shikamaru rolls his eyes. "No, your troublesome strategies are just too hard to predict and counter. Besides, I didn't say anything dumb." To this Ino and Choji looked shocked. Not even their sensei managed to get Shikamaru to stalemate. "Actually you did." The rookie 9 quickly turned to the new voice. It was a young man roughly in his late teens, a Konoha. He had gray hair, circle glasses, and black eyes. He wore a purple outfit with bandages tied around his waist. "You informed every other competitor here that you all are rookie genin, making you a target for all of them." The man said. "Troublesome, I knew I shouldn't have come. Why are you telling us this?" Shikamaru asks. Kabuto gives a kind smile. "Seeing as we are fellow Konoha and that you have all been given such a disadvantage." The rookie 9 glared at Shikamaru at this. "I feel it is my responsibility to at least give you some advice." Kabuto takes out a stack of cards from his kunai pouch and says, "These are my ninja info cards. They have information stored on every shinobi here for the exams. If there is anyone you would want information on, I will provide it." Rock Lee of Konoha, Sasuke spoke up. Naruto follows with, Sabaku no Gara. Ah, that's no fun, you already know their names. Kabuto fake pouts as he swipes 2 cards from his deck. Well, first is Rock Lee. He is a genin who is about a year older than all of you. He is a part of Team Guy with teammates Hyuga Neji and Higurashi Tenten led by Maida Guy. His taijutsu has improved explosively over the past year since becoming a genin, however all of his other attributes are atrocious, his ninjutsu being especially bad. He has 20 D ranks and 11 C rank missions on his record. The image on the card displayed an image of Rock Lee. It had been the boy in the green spandex they had met earlier. Off to the side, Sasuke seemed to be deep in thought. Inserting chakra into the second card, Kabuto continues talking. Sabaku no Gara is from Sunagaku, a fresh genin just like you. His abilities are all completely unknown, but what's surprising is that he comes back from all of his missions, 8 C ranks and even a B rank, without a scratch. While most of the rookie 9 adopted looks of complete disbelief, Naruto squinted in suspicion. But after Kabuto put the cards away, Kabuto asked, is there any other information you might need? Naruto was about to ask a question when a voice boomed, welcome genin to the first test of the genin exams. Please turn in your exam forms at the front to receive your seat number. Looking around, they saw Konoha Chunins and Jonins along the walls of the room. It took some time, but after about 10 minutes every genin had received their seat number. Soon after, the Konoha nin along the wall began to distribute a paper as a man at the front began to explain, my name is Morino Ibiki and the first test of the Chunin exams is a written evaluation. There are 9 questions, however you will receive a 10th at the 45-minute mark. Each question is worth 1 point and each team needs 20 to pass. However, if even one teammate gets 0 points, the entire team fails. If at any point you are caught cheating, 2 points will be deducted from your score. Therefore, if you are caught 5 times, you and your team immediately fails. You have 45 minutes until the final question. You may begin. Everyone flipped over the question. And slowly Naruto's confidence in his own intelligence slowly dimmed. The first question was calculus, the second was advanced physics, and the third was a cryptogram. Each question was more and more complicated than the last. This can't be it. I don't know how to answer any of these. Naruto thought. He was going to look around when he thought, wait, I can't cheat at all. In that instant Naruto came to a realization, I have to cheat. That's why we only lose 2 points every time they catch us cheating. First step, finding who to cheat off of. Discreetly looking around, he tried finding someone who would give him the correct answers. It took Naruto a minute, but eventually he found someone who was filling out the exam way too quickly for a supposedly struggling genin, but what clued him in was what seemed to be an imprint of a flak jacket on the genin's shirt. Next, Naruto flipped over his paper, infused his pen with chakra, then began to draw all over the back of it. He was drawing when suddenly a kunai whizzed past his ear. Examinee 79, you have been caught cheating, therefore you and your teammates have failed. Leave or we will remove you. Turning to face the failed genin, he watched as the failed genin was carried out of the room despite all of his desperate cries. Returning to his paper, he continued to draw all over the back of the paper, designing a seal. And when there was only 5 minutes before the 10th question, Naruto activated it. Suddenly smoke exploded from his seal too fast for anyone else to discover its source. And there was so much it was hard for anyone to see, so using the cover he activated a second seal to make both seals fade away and quickly swapped papers with the undercover Chunin, erasing the other shinobi's name and replacing it with his own. The smoke cleared quickly, but it was enough time for Naruto to get his answers, confident that he would pass this test. Time for the last question, Genin, Ibiki Morino shouted. However, there are some additional rules for this question. If you take the next question and get it wrong, you will be banned from ever taking another Chunin exam ever again. So you will be allowed to leave now. However, if one person leaves, the entire team fails. That's not fair, Kiba cried. You can leave if you don't like it. Ibiki responded. This immediately shut Kiba up, but many others were discouraged by the price of failure. Many hands went up and many teams began to exit. Slowly the numbers dwindled, but what troubled Naruto was that he could see Hinata getting nervous, ready to give up. Before inspiring her to stay, he let the crowd thin out as much as possible, but just before she raised her hand, Naruto shouted, "Are you done with your mind games? You don't even have the power to ban us from becoming Chunin." Besides, it's been 10 minutes, are you ever going to give us the question? Ibiki immediately snapped to Naruto, so you are okay with failing? Yeah, Naruto shrugged, I can still accomplish my dreams as a genin. So are you going to give us the question or not? Though Naruto was staring down the proctor out of the corner of his eyes, he was happy to see Hinata's hand slowly go back down, and a smile slowly spread across Ibiki's lips, no one else. Seeing the genin's resolve, Ibiki continued, well, for everyone who stayed, you passed. There was a long silence after that statement, so Naruto asked, we passed? Ibiki nodded, you all pass. When you become Chunin you will receive some risky missions, and you are not allowed to turn them down just because of some risk. Then what was the point of the first 9 questions? A random genin asked. The proctor removed the bandana covering his head and continued, information gathering. Sometimes information is so important for your village that you will need to get it at all costs. So you all need to know how to gather said information. Ibiki takes a second to retie this bandana, then continues, however, wrong information is just as dangerous as no information, so be warned, make sure that your source is veritable. Ibiki was going to continue, but at that moment something crashed through the window and pinned him behind a banner that read, I am your sexy and single-second proctor, Mitarashi Anko. Standing in front of said banner was a purple-haired woman wearing a trench coat, a fishnet shirt and a short brown skirt. Hello little genin, I am your next proctor. She paused to scan the room, then asked, 78 genin. You let this many pass, Ibiki? You're really losing your touch. Emerging from behind the banner, Ibiki growled, you're really Anko. Besides, there's some good genin this year. She rolls her eyes, yeah sure Ibiki. At least half of them will fail my exam. Then facing the genin she barked, meet me at the 44th training ground by noon. If you're late you fail. And with that she shunshined out of the room. Everyone had gathered around what seemed to be a gigantic forest. They were waiting around for the proctor when they heard a shout, hello, little genin. Welcome to training ground 44, my home away from home, otherwise known as the Forest of Death. Many genin paled at the training ground's nickname. But regardless, the proctor continued, the next stage of the Chunin exams is a survival exercise, and for the next 120 hours you have to survive in that forest with what you have on you now to make it to the tower at the center of the forest. As the proctor began to hand out papers, Naruto smiled and thought, thanked Kami for my seals. Once every genin had a sheet, the proctor continued, I'm going to need you to sign those, because for this stage deaths will happen and killing is allowed. Konoha cannot be held responsible for that, so you will sign these papers. The proctor held 2 different scrolls in her hands. Sometimes as Chunin you will be responsible for important documents, so as part of the test to enter the tower you will need these 2 scrolls. But you only receive one of them when you turn in your forms. The other you must take by any means from other teams. Only half of the teams can pass the exam. So that's what she meant. Walking away, the woman shouted, once your team has finished signing the contract, come trade in your scroll in the tent. But with a mischievous grin she said, one last piece of advice. Don't die. -30 minutes later, teammate had just arrived in front of their designated gate, and had 10 minutes before the gates would open. Facing his teammates, Naruto said, we don't have to worry about food or water. I have more than enough stocked in my seal. All we have to do is get the earth scroll we need and get to the tower. But how would we get one? Hinata asked. Well, we just have to find an enemy team quickly. But I don't know where we could find one. It would be logical to go to the river. Shino commented. Naruto tilted his head, but we don't need water. I have a week's worth in my seals. That's true for us, but most teams will need to find a water source to survive, and the only safe option would be the river. Shino points out. Hinata nods in agreement. If we stay hidden along the riverside we could surprise attack enemy teams, and we would have a source for our water jutsu. Naruto grins, so that's the plan then. Hinata, I want you to scan with your Byakugan for a minute every 4 minutes. We don't want to strain your eyes too much. Hinata was about to respond in the affirmative when they heard a loud buzz, and suddenly the gate behind them began to open. Quickly they ran through and made a beeline for the river. It was quite a distance away, but it could have been farther, so there were no complaints. An hour had passed and they had just made it to the river. Hiding close to the top of a tree, team 8 took some time to eat, as they haven't since before the first exam. However, it also served to give some time for other teams to arrive. Finishing their food, Naruto resealed the containers and Shino worked to hide their tracks. Running down the riverside, Hinata kept scanning for any enemy teams. After about 10 minutes, Hinata stopped them. There's a team up ahead. Taki Nin, we should expect some water style. Nodding to each other, they silently jump up into the trees. As they slowly approach the team, Shino releases some of his bugs and Naruto produces a few clones. Once they were right above them, Naruto gave a countdown and swiftly they jumped down, and with a strike to the head the Taki Nin were knocked out cold. Searching for the scroll, Naruto let out a curse. Damn it, another heaven scroll. Keep it, Shino says, we can use it as a bargaining chip or a backup. Sealing the second scroll into the same seal as where the first one was, Naruto says, let's get out of here. We have a few hours of daylight left, let's try to find another team. Leaving the team somewhere safe, they continued to run down the riverside. Few hours later, tiredly Team 8 had set up camp in a tree. Since taking the Taki Nin scroll, they hadn't run into any other teams. Not even just to trade in their extra heaven scroll for an earth one. It was his watch, so while his teammates were sleeping he was covering their camp and keeping watch over it. Everything had been quiet for a while when suddenly he heard a loud crash. Quietly he sent a cage Bunshin to investigate while he remained to protect the hideout. But when he received the information his eyes widened and he shouted, Kiba. Having woken up from the loud crash, Hinata and Shino exited the hideout just in time to see Naruto jump down from his branch to the forest floor. Following suit, they found Kiba at the base of the tree they were hiding in, with Akamaru whimpering at his unconscious owner. Hinata, scan him for injuries, Naruto said. Activating her dojutsu, she found that his right arm was dislocated. Communicating this to Naruto, he responded with, hold him down so I can set it back in place. A quick motion reset Kiba's arm, but it also made him wake up with a scream, OWWW. Breathing heavily, Kiba asked, what happened? Shino raised an eyebrow, that is what we should ask you. I dunno, Kiba panted, we were running through the forest when I suddenly got hit with some strong wind. But it only hit us. Akamaru, Kiba's ninkin, seemed to bark in affirmation. A futon jutsu, Hinata asks. Naruto was about to respond when he shoved Kiba and shouted, move. Quickly Hinata, Shino, and Akamaru jumped back, and just then a gigantic snake crashed directly into their previous location. Not wanting the snake to recover, Naruto sped through hand signs shouting, Raiden, right Tenahira. Pressing his hand to the snake, Naruto exerted lethal force, and it was only a few seconds before it was clear that the snake died. The snake hadn't scared Naruto, but what did was the fact that it seemed to poof away once it had died. Kiba, did you see who attacked you? Naruto asked calmly but with urgency. Hearing the urgency in Naruto's voice, Kiba responded nervously, no, I just got hit with the wind then lights out. That's not good, Naruto whispered. What's wrong? Hinata asked. That snake was a summon. Kiba was unbothered by this saying, so. However, Shino seemed to understand Naruto's point. There are only two people who can summon snakes. Who? Hinata asks. The proctor. But she's not allowed to interfere. Kiba interrupted. Naruto nodded, exactly. Which is why the person who attacked you could only be Orochimaru. Teammate understood the gravity of the situation very well, but Kiba was still in the dark. Who's that? Orochimaru is one of the Densetsu no Sannin, a cage-level shinobi who achieved incredible feats during the Second Great Ninja War. He used to be a Konoha nin but went rogue, and right now he is in this forest attacking Genin. Finally getting what was going on, Kiba became worried for his team. Oh no. Then I have to go help my team. Akamaru barked in agreement. Kiba was about to run off when he heard three shouts, no. Look, even with all our help, we stand no chance against one of the Sannin. Kiba was getting angry, so what then? Am I supposed to leave my team to die? Naruto shook his head. Look, if Orochimaru wanted you dead you wouldn't be walking or talking right now. Whatever he is doing in this forest, it's most likely not to kill your team. So let's wait for an hour or two, then look for your team. I can't leave my team like that. It's Orochimaru. What are you? Naruto shouted as he jabbed Kiba in the chest with his pointer finger, going to do against a cage-level shinobi. Huh, you're not that strong. That same blast that knocked you unconscious. He could have killed you with it and he wouldn't have even broken a sweat. So wait an hour, hope your team survives, then we search for them. Kiba looked to Naruto's teammates, come on guys, help me out here. Hinata shook her head, I'm sorry Kiba, I would have said it nicer, but I agree with Naruto-kun. Kiba looked to the floor grumbling as he followed teammate back up to their hiding spot. -2 hours later, Haruno Sakura was tired. A few hours ago everything was fine for Team 7 but then some weird woman sent Kiba and Akamaru flying to who knows where and left Sasuke unconscious with some weird hickey on his neck. Forced to carry Sasuke to a safe place up a tree, she just hoped that Sasuke would appreciate her more after this. She laid Sasuke down carefully in a hole in a tree and left him there as she began to set up some traps to defend him. She was working diligently to set up a log trap when her blood went cold as she heard multiple voices getting closer. She ran into the same hole that she hid Sasuke in, hoping that the team would just pass by. She was scared to fight even one shinobi, let alone an entire team. Are you sure they're here? One voice said, yup, their scent is really close by. Another, very familiar, voice said, Hinata, can you please scan with your Byakugan? The first voice asked, Hinata, Sakura thought. There was a short pause before she heard a third voice, Kiba, your team is right in that tree. Sakura peeks out of the tree to see her missing teammate with Team 8. Stepping out of the tree she asked, how can I know that it's actually you? Kiba steps forward. Well, since we've been in this forest, Sasuke made up some super long code about flowers or birds or something. But then I had to take a piss so I split from the group for a minute, but that's all it took for an AIM team to ambush us. Finally, after looking for another team, we got attacked by Orochimaru. You could have been following us from the beginning. Tell me something from the academy. Annoyed, Naruto stepped forward. These were the class rankings. Sasuke was first, I was second, you were third, Shino was fourth, Hinata was fifth, and Kiba was second to last, but only because Shikamaru always slacked off. And Iruka and Mizuki were our senseis. Sakura let out a sigh of relief. It really is you guys. Can you help me out? Sasuke-kun got some weird hickey from the woman who attacked us, so I had to drag him up here all alone. I was going to set up some traps. I'll check out the hickey, you just rest Sakura-san, Hinata says. And I'll help you out with the traps, Naruto offers, everyone else should sleep. Just in case a team passes by, we need some people at full strength. Naruto unseals some rope and wire and starts finishing up Sakura's log trap. He was almost done with the tripwire when he heard Hinata call for him, Naruto. Come here. Leaving a clone to complete the trap, he ran over to hideout and asked, what's wrong Hinata? The weird hickey Sakura was talking about is a seal. Let me see. Naruto kneeled down beside Sasuke as Hinata pulled down Sasuke's shirt to reveal 3 black markings in the shape of Tomo on Sasuke's neck. Taking a quick glance, Naruto knew he couldn't have any distractions. Hinata, I have some clones surrounding the perimeter. You can sleep and I take the first shift. Hinata grew concerned. Are you sure? You had the first shift last time, so you haven't gotten any sleep. Naruto smiled. Sure. Besides, I need to take a look at this seal and maybe seal it off. Oh, okay. Letting Hinata go to sleep, Naruto began to inspect the seal. It seemed to be made of 3 sections all connected to each other. The first part seemed to be a chakra converter seal, though he didn't know what Sasuke's chakra was being converted into. The second part was a chakra storage seal, probably storing whatever the converted chakra was. The last section was an injector seal, most likely injecting the converted chakra, but it seemed to simultaneously inject something else. Naruto didn't know what it was, but on closer inspection he found a hidden 4th section. It was connected to the previous 3 sections but also unaffected by them. It seemed to be a storage seal, strangely similar to the one that kept in Kurama. Naruto had a base assumption for what the seal was but didn't want to mess with Asanin's work, fearing further damage. Leaving the seal alone, Naruto sat down and guarded the hideout entrance, just waiting for his shift to end. Shino sat guard waiting for everyone to wake up when suddenly some of his bugs that he had spread out to notify him of the incoming team. Quickly waking up everyone else before they arrived, they walked outside the hideout to see 3 Otonins. 1. A boy covered in bandages, shouts to them, we've come to kill the Uchiha. Well then you've got to go through us. Kiba shouted back. Another boy with wild shrugs to his comrades, doesn't seem that hard. He was about to run forward when he heard his female teammate shout, "Zaku, wait. There's a trap." Stepping back, Zaku looked down and spotted a fine green wire, near unnoticeable unless actively looking for it. So close, yet so far. Stepping over it, the boy was going to charge again when suddenly a huge log swung down from the canopy and was about to collide with the Odo team. But with a shout it was blown to smithereens, Zankaha. Decapitating airwaves. Springing into action, the Odo girl threw Senbon straight into the group. Dodging out of the way, teammate split apart to fight the Odo team while Sakura and Kiba remained behind to guard Sasuke. With Naruto charged straight at the bandaged Odo nin as he seemed to be the leader of the group. Naruto threw a punch at the nin's gut but it was blocked by his arms. Naruto attempted to punch the nin's chin when suddenly his ears started ringing and felt extremely off-balanced. The bandaged nin gave a mischievous smirk. "How do you like my melody gauntlet? I can deal damage without even touching you." Seeing the incoming punch, Naruto tried to dodge it but he was so dizzy that when he tried to duck he only moved further into it and was sent tumbling backwards. Naruto coughed up blood and was seeing stars, however he could see well enough to see another incoming punch but was able to dodge left. Jumping back as far as he could, Naruto unsealed 2 slips of paper and a pen and closing his eyes he drew 2 silencing seals. Opening his eyes back up, Naruto's vision was just clear enough to dash back to the nin and press the 2 seals to the Odo nin's melody gauntlets. With a malicious grin, the Odo nin punched Naruto across the jaw, but despite the blow Naruto was much clearer than before. Spitting out some blood, Naruto grinned, "Can I know your name before I beat you to a pulp?" "No. But you can try." As Naruto stood up, Dosu swung at Naruto but he was able to block it and strike back at the boy. Dosu was able to block it with his gauntlet but the strike pushed him back a few feet. Dosu ripped off the slips of paper hoping that it would undo whatever Naruto did to his gauntlets, but Naruto just laughed as he held up a hand sign, "That won't help you anymore." Kai. As Naruto's restriction seals faded away he sped through some hand seals. "Raiden, right Tenahira." Naruto's hand crackled with lightning as he charged at Dosu. Surprised by the sudden influx of speed, Dosu realized a little too late that he shouldn't have tried to block Naruto's electrified strike with his metal gauntlet. Dosu seized as painful amounts of electricity coursed through his body. When the current ended, Dosu was left conscious but unable to move. With Hinata a few minutes earlier. As Naruto jumped into action to fight Dosu, Hinata charged forth as well, quickly dodging as the girl threw more Senbon at her. Despite missing her target, the girl grinned as her finger made a few slight movements. Hinata heard a jingling of bells, then suddenly she couldn't move. "How do you like my genjutsu? It's auditory, so even with your precious Byakugan you can't avoid it," the girl taunted. Hinata inwardly sighed as her opponent told her exactly what she needed to do. As the girl drew closer, she silently focused on her own chakra and stopped it for a split second, allowing for her to break out of the genjutsu easily. Activating her Byakugan, Hinata was ready to charge, but noticing something she began jabbing at random points in the air, heavily worrying her opponent. "What have you done? I am not allowing you to activate your genjutsu," by severing the chakra string attached to your Senbon. Charging at the girl once more, Hinata kept dodging the pitiful attempts to stop her charge. Standing in front of the girl, Hinata shouted, "Hake Rokuji Yansho. 8 trigrams, 64 palms." Shutting down 64 of her opponent's chakra points left the girl unconscious and unmoving. With Shino a few minutes earlier. Jumping to the side, Shino released a swarm of Kikaichu that began to rush Zaku. Quickly pointing his arm at the swarm, Zaku shouted, "Zankaha." All the bugs in the center of the swarm were decimated, as the rest of the swarm dispersed. Shino didn't want more of his insects to die, so he let them spread out or return to him. Seeing that Zaku was aiming his arm at him, Shino jumped left as Zaku shouted, "Zankaha." Again, from the back of his pants legs he let out some Kikaichu and had them go under the large branch they were fighting on, keeping the bugs completely out of view. Zaku once again aimed towards Shino, but once again he missed. Those blasts should require a fair amount of chakra. If my Kikaichu can drain his chakra, he should eventually exhaust himself, Shino thought. Coming up from the underside of the branch, the Kikaichu climbed up Zaku's leg and began to drain his chakra. Not noticing Shino's insects, Zaku continued to try and blast away Shino to no avail. However, Shino did notice something. He saw a small hollow pole inserted into the palm of Zaku's hand. So seeing that Zaku didn't seem to be getting tired and one lucky hit could end it for him, Shino decided to try something. Sending more insects to drain Zaku's chakra, he signaled to some of his Kikaichu to stop draining chakra. He ordered them to slowly climb up Zaku's body and all the way down his arm, making sure they stayed out of his view. It helped that Shino jumping around distracted Zaku from the tiny bugs. Directly after another blast, the Kikaichu began climbing inside the pole. Despite not showing it, Zaku was getting tired and angry. "Stop jumping around, you damn bastard!" Zaku shouted. "I'll get you with this one," he said, raising both his arms to aim at Shino. Zenkakyokua. Extreme decapitating airwaves. A blood-curdling scream filled the air. "My arms! What have you done to my arms?" Zaku looked down to his limp arms to find that at the elbow there were many holes going straight through his flesh close to his elbow, and bugs coming out of the poles in his hands. "I caused the poles in your arms to burst by plugging the hole that you fired your attacks through with my bugs. That pressure forced all the air and chakra inside to explode outwards, injuring your arm," Shino explained. Appearing behind a broken Zaku, Shino landed a quick strike to the back of his neck, knocking him out. Finishing up their fights, Team 8 dragged their unconscious opponents toward each other. As Naruto tied them all up, he asked, "Hinata, may you scan for their scroll?" "I already did. This girl has an earth scroll in her pocket," Hinata says as removed it from the girl's pocket. Seeing Kiba and Sakura getting closer, Naruto unsealed one of the heaven scrolls and sealed away the earth scroll. He saw Hinata's confused look, but he just asked her to wait. Once Kiba and Sakura got close enough, Sakura asked, "Hey, we know it was you guys who took down this team, but could we have their scroll? Orochimaru took ours, so we don't have any." Naruto gave a big smile. "Sure. We have a heaven scroll anyway, so another one wouldn't help us." Handing over the scroll, Naruto's smile slightly faded. "Look, we would love to stay longer, but we really gotta find an earth scroll of our own. We would have loved to work together, but we'd end up fighting over the first earth scroll we find." "I'm sorry." Kiba waved it off. "Don't worry about it, guys. We still got 3 days left, we'll be fine. Besides, you've already helped us so much." "Yeah." Sakura nodded along. After gathering their stuff for a few minutes, Team 8 jumped away from Team 7, but once out of sight and earshot, Hinata asked, "Why did you do that, Naruto?" "We could have helped them out." Naruto was about to respond when Shino spoke first. "Yes, we could have helped. However, remember that this is still a competition that we are trying to win. Helping them, while nice, is illogical. Naruto was correct to leave Team 7 after we have both scrolls." Before Hinata spoke up again, Naruto cut in. "I know they're our friends, that's why we made sure to leave them with something. We do want to see them succeed, that's why we made sure they were all okay, even Sasuke. It's also why we left them with a scroll. But not at the cost of our own success. The reason I switched the scrolls around was so that they didn't ask any questions. Now let's get to the tower. I don't want to be in this forest any longer than I have to." Hinata sighed. "Okay, Naruto-kun, I get it." Switching directions, Team 8 ran towards the central tower. Minus 45 minutes later. "Phew, finally made it." Naruto sighed. Looking around, Team 8 was trying to figure out what to do next. Eventually they came upon some engravings in the wall. Naruto read them aloud. "If the qualities of heaven are your desire, acquire knowledge to take your mind to higher. If qualities of earth are what you lack, train your body in the fields and prepare to attack. When both heaven and earth are opened together, the path of peril will revert the righteous path forever. This underscore is the secret way that guides us from this place today." "What do you think that means, Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked. "I think we need to open the scrolls. I believe that the heaven and earth that need to be opened together are referring to the scrolls." "Are you sure?" "Definitely." Naruto takes both scrolls out of the seals and unrolls them when suddenly smoke begins to appear out of them, so he quickly threw them to the ground. After a few more seconds of a smoke, a poof was heard and a person appeared. Activating her Byakugan, Hinata looked through the smoke and was surprised. "Uruka-sensei. What are you doing here?" Letting the smoke dissipate, he smiled and said, "To congratulate you for passing the second round." "We made it?" Naruto asked. Yes, and in only 32 hours too you have nearly 4 days to rest here in the tower. Teammate let out a sigh of relief. But after a second Hinata asked a question, what was the blank that the riddle was referring to? Uruka smiled. Ah yes, you see that riddle was written by the Sandaime himself. Heaven refers to intelligence. A smart fighter can maneuver himself or his squad to victory against opposing forces much stronger than themselves. Earth means strength. Even though intelligence can help, without power to back it up it won't always be enough. But that blank signifies balance. With great knowledge coupled with a strong fighter creates the best shinobi, and what is necessary for the best chunin. I understand, whispered Hinata. Good, now I can see that you are all tired. You have 4 days to rest here in the tower. You may not leave until told. Use these days wisely and good luck. Now follow me to your rooms. Uruka waved for teammate to follow him down a hallway. Hope you guys enjoy second part of this story. Do like, share and subscribe.